What's up everybody, I am the Mangoose, you are awesome, and today we're going to be making beer-basted boar ribs from World of Warcraft. And I'll be finishing them off on this primitive wood grill. Beer-basted boar ribs was the first recipe I learned back in my WoW playing days. You can pick up the quest for the recipe in Karanos from Ragnar Thunderbrew here. The recipe calls for cragboar ribs and rhapsody malt. Eating the ribs gives you +1 stamina, and that's the real challenge here. I need to make these ribs in such a way that they'll give your stamina a little bitty boost. To do that, I turned to traditional Chinese medicine and discovered that I needed a ground up rhino horn and a dried panda dick. I'm just kidding, the real answer is ginseng, a root that you can actually find in the Appalachian Mountains. Ginseng is scientifically proven to help your body use oxygen more efficiently, which thereby gives you more stamina. So let's get cooking. First corner cut, I didn't get boar ribs, I just went to the grocery store and bought some pork ribs. I guess I could grab myself a dagger and jam it up a boar's ass, but I don't think it would turn out like this. Real wild boars can grow to be 6 feet long and weigh up to 700 pounds with razor sharp tusks, aka not something I want to fuck with. The pork ribs will do. I don't need this entire rack of ribs, so I'll just go ahead and cut these in half. One of the most important things about cooking ribs is to remove this membrane from the backside. This thin sheet of gross will actually prevent flavor from reaching your meat. Now let's get to making the dry rub. I'm not going to give you any exact measurements here. If you're measuring your dry rub down to the tablespoon, then you have no business making ribs in the first place. I'm going to go with salt, pepper, chili powder, paprika, red pepper flakes, and the ginseng. I got ginseng pills because it's easier to powder them and it's hard to find real ginseng. To crush these suckers, just place them on a hard surface, place the flat of your knife over them, and give it a whack. Be careful not to cut yourself. Go ahead and mix everything up. Experiment with your dry rub, add in whatever you want and make it your own. Go ahead and shake some out on your ribs and start giving them some love. Try to work the rub in well. Make sure you hit the backside too. Just go for an overall even coat on the ribs. I'm going to wrap these up in foil and go make our fire pit. Find yourself a relatively flat spot and dig out a small hole. If you want to get all fancy with it, you can line it with stones. For the grill portion, you want to find some long straight branches that fork. This one here is perfect. I can cut the fork out and use it as a support, then I can use the fat main branch as a side for the grill, while the longer thinner trimmings can become cross pieces. You may need to sharpen up the bottom of the forks as you'll be sticking these into the ground. Make sure you have a good sharp pocket knife. Mine is dull as all hell. Assembly is pretty simple. Just push your fork pieces into the ground. Lay your fat branches across the forks, and then lay the smaller trimmings over the top. You can cut notches into the fat branches to stabilize the grill if you want, but we're only going to be finishing the ribs on this, so I'm not too worried about it. Just make sure you use green branches instead of dry wood. Why? Because dry wood will catch on fire, dipshit. Speaking of dry wood, I'm going to get this fire going now. You don't want to cook over direct fire, you want this to burn down to coals before cooking on it. This wood is extremely dry, so I don't anticipate having any trouble getting it lit, but you may want to use some lighter fluid or just use charcoal. We aren't smoking these ribs, so you don't have to use wood. How are we going to cook these ribs? Well, we're going to give them a beer sauna in the oven first. The recipe of course calls for Rhapsody malt, but I live in the real world where that doesn't exist, so I just picked up one that I thought would work well with this recipe. This is Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale from Alltex Lexington Brewing and Distilling Company. I'm going to put the ribs boned down in Uncle Jesse here and just put about ½ inch of beer in the bottom. I don't want the ribs to drown in it, I just want them to get steamed by the beer a bit. Let's cover this with some foil and toss it in a 325-degree oven. I'll cook these for about 45 minutes to an hour, stopping every 10 to 15 minutes to baste the ribs with our mop sauce, which we'll make now. The basting sauce is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to mix the beer with honey. A true malt in beer terms is a low alcohol sweet beer, so the honey should help make it more malty, I guess. It'll also help it stick to the ribs and caramelize nicely to give us some color and sweetness. Just mix it all up till it's just slightly viscous, kind of like this. Boom, done. Now that our ribs are damn near done, we'll put them on our primitive grill. Make sure you even out the coals for even heat. Don't worry too much if there's still a little fire left, it's all good. And simply place the ribs on the sticks. We'll cook this for about 15 minutes, turning them over once and generously mopping them with our mop sauce. The time you cook depends on how much heat you have going and how low your grill is. You really just want to get some nice color on the ribs. You can of course just do this on a regular ass grill, but I'm trying to be entertaining here. And our ribs are done. Let them rest for about as long as you had them on the grill. While they rest, I'll prepare the garnish. These are some wild onions I found behind a foreclosed house the other day. Back in my homeland of West Virginia, we called these ramps and people would cook huge batches of them and eat them like fucking spaghetti. Kinda gross. I don't recommend foraging for food unless you're an expert at identifying wild edibles. I'm no overall expert, but I know a ramp when I see one. Cut these up into 2 rib sections. Pile them up and sprinkle some ramps or just some green onions on top. And let's give them a go. And these are delicious! They aren't as tender as I would like, but I did have to freeze these ribs, so I wasn't expecting that they would turn out perfect. Still pretty damn good though. The mop sauce is quite tasty. I just want to rub it all in my beard and save it for later. Feel sorry for you guys that don't have beards and you can't do this. Wait, how am I talking while eating and rubbing food on my face? Anyway, if you liked the video, do me a favor and hit that like button. Here in about 2 weeks, I'm going to be making trash can chicken from Streets of Rage, and I'm going to be making it in a trash can. How fucking meta is that? For now, this is the Man Goose reminding you that if you're out there and you're hungry, you can go eat a dick. Man Goose! Hey guys, if you're surprised that I did a cooking video, it's not the first one I've done. You can check that one out on the left, or you could look at the whole playlist on the right.